cold wind blowing. So a fire would be nice this afternoon. Eddie and I go back a long way. And I'm really astounded to realize, Eddie, that you've now been with Westinghouse for just over 3 years. Eddie was appointed the president and CEO of Westinghouse Canada on June the 1st, 2018, where he is focused on building Westinghouse's commercial and operational footprint in Canada through a balanced portfolio approach. Eddie's got more than 16 years of nuclear experience, and I'm sure in experience in other industries beyond that. Eddie was vice president of business development and innovation at NA Engineering. And prior to that, he held a number of leadership positions with Lakeside Process Controls. And I'm pleased, Eddie, that you've always been with an OCNI member company. That's probably why we selected you for today's session. Eddie is a graduate of the University of Waterloo. I know we have a whole Waterloo mafia, and the Waterloo guys are always, and girls are always very special. I noticed that you're a Toronto boy, which means obviously that you're a Leaf fan. And I know that in today's push out, Nav mentioned that I had to say something about the Leafs. I wish this interview was the day before because the Leafs lost last night. And we were all euphoric after their 3-game sweep of the Oilers. And I think we're going to start to plan the Stanley Cup parade. But I think you mentioned that the Brookfield office is probably going to be right on that Stanley Cup parade.
Yeah, I got a small
invite.
Yeah, for sure. I've got a small office in Brookfield Place, and it's actually on the parade route there. So when we win the cup this year, I can have you and the OCNI team over to watch it from the 27th floor there.
Okay. So Eddie, we've got more than 130 people called in today, wow. And surprisingly, they're not all Westinghouse people.
Yeah, I didn't realize my family was that large, so that's good to see.
Well, good for you. I mean, I think there actually is a good, diverse, and inclusive mix in keeping with our diversity and inclusion mandate at OCNI. So anyway, congratulations on drawing a big crowd. I know most people probably know you, but don't know much about you. So that's what's special about today. We can get to know a little bit about Westinghouse and your vision for Westinghouse, and then we'll get into a little bit about who is Eddie Saab, which is important as part of business, as relationships, as we know, are ultimately very important to good business. So you've been over at Westinghouse for just over, well, going on almost 3 years. Can you walk us through some of the highlights of those challenging 3 years since you've been at the helm?
Yeah, it's coming up just 2.5 years now. I think it was June 2018, and it's been an incredible journey. I mean, it definitely has been the most rewarding and the most challenging part of my professional career. Just being able to see Westinghouse Canada go from an idea on a whiteboard into a PowerPoint, working with the executive team at Westinghouse to figure out what we need to do, and then now becoming a full service organization. It's been incredibly challenging, but also a lot of fun. The highlights, I mean, there's so many in the last 2.5 years. I think that's why it feels like it's gone by so fast. But I remember going into Westinghouse's head office in Cranberry for the first time and just being blown away with the talent of the people there, the professionalism, being able to represent such an iconic brand of Westinghouse who's done so much for the industry, and knowing that they've sort of entrusted me to bring that reputation and bring that spirit into Canada, is sort of grounded my ego a bit. Also, being able to invest quite a bit is been an opportunity I've been relishing, right? Investing in people, investing in programs, investing in technology, being entrusted with
companies
and companies and acquisitions. It's such a unique experience, right? Because I'm being asked to be a bit of an entrepreneur within Canada under an iconic brand of Westinghouse, who's owned by a Canadian company. So it's just like a perfect Canadian Westinghouse sandwich for success here. But I've really enjoyed, to be quite honest, has been the partnerships we've been able to build. This hasn't just been a Westinghouse, let's see what we can do alone. It really has been working with like-minded partners and organizations. We made news about working with Bruce Power on trying to figure out what to do on the Vinci side of things, and we can talk about that later on. Working with BWXT, people might think of them as a competitor to us, but I see them as a friend and a partner, working with those folks to figure out what additional value we can drive into the organization. Working with Nordion up in Canada to figure out, can we produce cobalt 60 out of the PWR market in the US? It's been a lot of fun because Westinghouse is interacting with all the OCNI member companies now. It's not just about what Westinghouse is doing, is what can we do together. I think the other highlight for me too is I spent maybe the first 2 years, not so much last year because of COVID, but like just traveling quite a bit, spending a lot of time obviously in Cranberry, but a lot of time in Ottawa. And the reason for that was obviously to sort of start carrying the message of Westinghouse with the federal government. And the cadences were quite limited at the start. Who is Westinghouse Canada? What are your plans? Your 1, 2, 3 person organization. And over time, as we sort of built up a cadence with finance, natural resources Canada, infrastructure, environment, PMO's office, we're now, they're proactively asking us for updates, which is great to see the federal government interested in, what Westinghouse is doing within Canada and how we sort of can move Canada's overall goal to meet climate change by 2020, by 2050. So it's been exciting. It's just been so much. And obviously, Ron, I have to say, another highlight would have been the OCNI trade show down in Cranberry. So in 2019, it was great. We had, 30 organizations come down to Cranberry. And I think we had about 500-600 people from Westinghouse walk through and interact and, come up with ideas between the two. Yeah, we got a lot out of it. Westinghouse got a lot of it, but I also hope the OCNI organizations felt value in that event.
No, it was one of the highlights, and if it weren't for COVID, we'd be coming back this summer because our thoughts were we'll come back to Cranberry every 2 years.
Yeah.
But the interest of the Westinghouse people in coming out to meet the Canadian suppliers was really very welcome. So of those highlights, I mean, is there one or two that you'd say this was the one of which you're most proud? In other words, what did you do in the last 2.5 years that says, wow, that was the best, besides hiring Agatha, what was the second highlight of the things you achieved in the last couple of years?
Yeah. Well, I mean, on that same vein, it really wasn't what I did. It's really has been our people.
Yeah.
It has been incredible, the talent we've acquired, the talent we've hired, the interest in joining Westinghouse. And, it was a challenge at the start, right? When Westinghouse tries to get into a new market here, I mean, it's a little tougher to attract talent. You have to believe in the vision. You have to be ready for all the hard work and effort required to really start from scratch. And over time, as we attract people who just make a world of a difference and come up with these new and great ideas, like the thing I'm most proud of is really the people of Westinghouse. They inspire me to really sort of push this organization forward and not sort of be happy with status quo. And it's been weird too, because, originally we were looking to hire for gaps, where we sort of needed maybe some additional can-do expertise or, someone in fire protection or digital engineering. And some of the lessons learned for me is, if you just hire the best person possible and build a role around them, like the impact they can make to the organization is like 10-20 fold. So, we're doing a bit of both. We're figuring out where we have the gaps and what we can do to close them. But we're also looking for, people who are willing to come in and help us change the game in Canada and really the whole industry. So definitely the highlight has been the people. I really love working with the people we got.
Well, Eddie, you threw up a sports softball for me because there's an old adage that when you're building a sports team, you hire the best athletes, and then you build the system around the talents that you've acquired.
Yep.
And I think you've just modeled that yourself. You said you bring in good people, and that kind of defines what Westinghouse Canada is going to look like. And the other thing is good people attract good people. And I think you should take a lot of personal credit that under your leadership, people say, well, I'd like to go work for that guy.
Sure.
So good for you, Eddie.
Thanks.
You've done a number of acquisitions, and acquisitions are always challenging, and they require amalgamation of systems and talent and culture. Have you had any challenges, bringing the culture of Rolls-Royce and NA into the Westinghouse culture, and how has that worked for you?
No, it's been incredibly straightforward and easy, Ron. It's no, that's a lie. Yeah, it's been challenging. I mean, you would the M&A playbook is really straightforward, right? You're making an investment to accelerate your penetration to the marketplace, to be able to solve the customer challenges. You know, take the best of the various pieces, and and take the pieces you don't need, and really drive efficiency. And that playbook is pretty straightforward, but when you start integrating, you start realizing that it's not that easy. And I mean,
There are a lot of failures in that playbook.
I have done nothing but fail the last 2.5 years, but for some reason I'm still here. But no, I mean, just you layer that on top of COVID, right? So I mean, consider where we were. So back in February of last year, we had just closed on the acquisition of NA Engineering. So we're 3 or 4 months into that integration. We announced the acquisition of Rolls-Royce Civil Nuclear, which came with an incredible manufacturing facility in Peterborough. So we were getting on the heels of integrating that business into a business that was being amalgamated with NA Engineering, Westinghouse Canada. And then COVID happened, right? And in a matter of 30 days, actually we spent in two weeks, but in 30 days, we had to come up with a new integration game plan to be able to integrate two very reputable, mature legacy organizations into really what was a young startup Westinghouse Canada. And we were integrating 150 people into a company of 5 people, right? So, and now you have to do that remotely, right? So all the support from Westinghouse Cranberry and WEC LLC has been incredible, but that's all remote. And then trying to interact and trying to lead and inspire folks remotely was also a challenge. And so, yeah, I mean, that was a huge challenge, but we have learned a lot together. I think the organizational fluency of our amalgamated business, it allowed us to sort of learn, experience the challenges and pain, but also come up with solutions together. And I think in hindsight, it really brought us a little closer together. I mean, it also forced us to recognize that there's probably a lot of things we should have been doing as an organization previously, like better use of technology, maybe finding ways to be a little more efficient. But yeah, it's been a lot of bumps along the road, but without a doubt, our organization is stronger because of those challenges. And as things start to look a little better as we look into the spring, and hopefully ever the vaccine rolls out happens on time, I think Westinghouse Canada is going to come out of it much stronger than we would have had it not been for COVID. So yeah, it's been challenging.
Well, Eddie, you don't look a day older than you did 2.5 years ago. And I think that's probably a credit to you're a fit guy. And I think your fitness and resilience, allows you to manage heavy stress loads. And I think you've come through it extremely well. And you mentioned Ottawa earlier. I think I ran into you and my old friend John Barrett in Ottawa a number of times, and I'm sure John is on the line. So hello, John. And I think that was a wise decision to have John Barrett, who knows his way around Ottawa better than most, help you in that side of the work. So with 2020 behind us, and isn't it great to have that year behind us? What does 2021 look like for Westinghouse Canada?
Yeah, I'm really excited for 2021. I think this is a year that Westinghouse is going to start making a real impact in the Canadian nuclear industry, but also impacting our local communities. Now, I think all the effort of the past 2 years are starting to materialize. Our people are starting to make international connections across not only Westinghouse, but global CANDU, for example, looking at challenges that are happening not only within Ontario CANDU plants and in New Brunswick, but also what's happening globally. So we're starting to see a network of abilities that happen. We continue to invest in robotics. We're doing a ton of work with Bruce Power to figure out how to run more efficiently, what are ways to sort of bring in the MCR schedules on time. So it's been exciting to work with some of those challenges, new technologies, and continue to invest in what we know we need to do to make nuclear competitive across all types of power generation competition. One example, just I talked about BWC before, is we're using our enhanced Zephyr Steam generator technology in collaboration with Bruce Power to try and find efficiencies in processes that we've been doing for the last 40 years. I think also on the acquisition side, just to go back to Rolls-Royce and to NA Engineering, I really feel like this is a year that those acquisitions are going to sort of show their potential. Rolls-Royce, I mean, one example is their proactive obsolescence management system. They've got a massive database of preventative measures, of parts, of failures. If we start using data analytics and using some of the science behind all this information, we should be able to predict, some of the challenges that the CANDU plants will be facing, when they're going to happen, and sort of prevent them from happening, get ahead of it. And same with any engineering side of things. It's one of the best kept secrets is their fire protection capabilities. I mean, they are the preeminent player of fire protection in the CANDU market, and everywhere we participate, we do quite well. And we're trying to take that story and sort of promote it across the entire CANDU fleet, but also now into the PWR fleet and into the global fleet. So there's a ton of opportunity. So I'm excited, but it's not only on what we have been doing. What I love about Westinghouse is we continue to look for innovation and ways to invest in technology. And I think everyone knows how passionate I am about the eVinci microreactor. I mean, it's something I sort of saw on day one, and just it sort of hit me like a bus, saying this is going to be the game changer for nuclear across the world, not just for Westinghouse. It's essentially a nuclear battery providing clean energy, and one that really is quite small. It really is a battery. So I feel very shortly the conversation is going to shift from like the technology and the heat pipes about the eVinci to what can the eVinci enable for humanity, really, right? Not just power generation, but desalination, greenhouses. It's like a battery. What can you use a battery? So we're sort of challenging our partners, our communities, all our stakeholders as to, well, if we give you 4.5 megawatts of clean, reliable power, what can you do with it? And the answers are numerous. I think the other investment too is really, I talked about before, the Cobalt 60. So really have been enjoyed working with our friends in Canada. Kevin and Richard, I hope they're on the call today, but trying to figure out what's necessary to be able to help the supply of Cobalt 60 across the globe. Right, the U.S. is the largest user of Cobalt 60, about 50% of the marketplace. So, if we can figure out a way to produce Cobalt 60 and PWRs, complement and supplement what's already being done great by Bruce Power and OPG on that part of the market. I think the last year has really shown us the importance of Cobalt 60 and the ability to sterilize metal equipment, masks, and even our food. So. A lot of great opportunity for Westinghouse. It really is an exciting time here.
Well, I hope you were on our Canada-Romania nuclear partnership event the last couple of days, and you heard Richard Wiens of Nordium say, "I can't get enough cobalt."
Yep.
So if you can find a way to get cobalt produced in PWRs, that would be an enormous opportunity. And I'm going to put in a plug for this document, and I see that Westinghouse is in it. And it's going to be released in a couple of weeks. It's a document sponsored by the Canadian Nuclear Isotope Council and OCNI, and it's a Canadian Medical Isotopes Ecosystem Directory, a directory of the Canadian companies that have capability in isotopes. So there you go. I want to just quick go back to robotics for a second. And
just on that note, Ron, do you mind if I say, so? Of
course, yeah.
Just going back to 2021. I think the success of the last couple of years, we're now of the size where, it's our responsibility to start contributing a little more to the industry and to our communities. So we are actively engaged with OCNI, but COG, NII, CCNS, all the acronyms you've got there. I mean, we're ensuring that our people are participating, but also engaging and trying to lead the conversation. But it's also our responsibility to look beyond just our own little network, right? We also need to figure out a way to inspire the next generation of employees we need for our industry. So we've actively been engaged with academia and universities, sponsoring women in STEM at OTU. We put a couple of our people to be mentors for PhD students, and really starting embracing it and being engaged with our communities. And I know you're a big proponent of that, and OCNI is a big proponent of that. And I think it's, we're now of the size where it's our duty to be doing the same thing.
Well, as you well know, and maybe some of our audience do, Westinghouse is now represented on the OCNI Board of Directors.
Yep.
Yep, Fabricia Pinero is one of our directors, a very active participant, and we appreciate your commitment to the industry. We might even increase your membership fee if you really want to contribute more, but it's up to you, Eddie. I just wanted to go back to robotics for a second, because I recall one of my first interactions with Westinghouse when I was with Ontario Hydro, and I took John Graham and a couple of other people to Waltz Mill. John Graham, he predates you, and probably most people on this line wouldn't have heard him, but he was head of reactor channel inspection at the old Ontario Hydro. And when he saw the technologies and the equipment that was available at Waltz Mill, he said, wow, this is amazing. We sometimes get a little insular up in Canada, and we thought we had the best of everything. But Waltz Mill was an eye-opener for him. And I'm sure you've taken some of your Canadian utility customers down to Waltz Mill outside of Cranberry, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I keep getting beat over the head by a lot of my Canadian utility friends to say you need to start bringing in this technology, this innovation into the Canadian marketplace, and that's really my responsibility. We are looking at ways, and I talked about a couple of things, but going back to Waltz Mill, that's now going to be our innovation lab for furthering the development of the Vinci. So yeah, the work that goes on, maybe sometimes in a bit of a silo in Westinghouse is incredible. And we need to be able to share that, because I think our utilities, our partners, and our communities can benefit from that. And that's really what Westinghouse Canada is trying to do in the marketplace, not just replicate or do what's already here, but work with the OCNI members and the utilities to sort of figure out ways to do things differently and stop, just challenge status quo wherever we can.
Eddie, I can feel the excitement over the screen with you. And I hope our audience can as well. I mean, it really is so much fun to see such a passion that you bring. And you've also taken on a big burden, because I think with Vinci, it sounds like you want to save the planet. So that must keep you awake sometimes at night. But while you're busy saving the planet, where do you think the first Vinci is going to be deployed in Canada? When and where?
Yeah, that's the big question I always get. What's the best way to answer that? So on July 29th, 2025.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me get that. That's my son Owen's 10th birthday.
Okay.
All right. So there's nothing more I want to do than be able to take Owen to see an Da Vinci doing something spectacular. Whether it's powering a remote community up north, whether it's helping generate clean water through desalinization, or maybe helping mine diamonds or something. I would love to spend his 10th birthday being able to show him what Da Vinci can do. So that's my target. What it takes is going to be, it's obviously it's going to be a bit more challenging, but I feel like personally I'd be very happy if I can spend that day with him, just showing him what Da Vinci's doing within Canada.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. What's his name?
Owen.
Oh, Owen. Yeah. So does Owen now have a Gantt chart showing a schedule? And when you come home at night, he said, Eddie, did you meet your milestones today towards?
I have more Gantt charts. Yeah, I have so many Gantt charts that I think he's now immune to them. But going to your question just on location, I mean, the luxury we have with the Da Vinci is its size. I mean, it essentially fits in 3 sea containers, more or less, right? Yeah. So I think the answer to that question will be, what is the greatest impact Da Vinci can make when it's ready to be deployed? And whatever that need is, will probably be where we see it. So it might be oil sands in Alberta, or some mining applications, Saskatchewan, Northern Ontario. It could be backup power at any of the licensed sites in Ontario or Quebec, possibly even at Chalk River. It could also be maybe helping with off-grid applications in Eastern Canada. I mean, the technology itself it's a Canadian solution. So whatever, I think that's what's going to drive the timing and the use of it is what is the biggest impact Da Vinci can make when it's ready. And then from there, I fully expect eventually to be in all provinces and globally in the near term. So I truly believe in technology, and more importantly, what people can do with that nuclear battery once they get their hands on it.
So I want to unpack that a little bit. So you said it's a Canadian solution.
Yep.
So do you see Canada being the hub of eVincis when they're built in Canada and around the world?
I mean, our commercial program is based on the Canadian market. You know, the federal government's been quite clear to highlight, you know, the three streams of what they see the need for SMRs, right? On-grid power, obviously next-gen technology, and our friends in New Brunswick are doing great jobs in trying to move that forward. And then also off or micro reactors, right, for northern communities and for industrial extraction applications. So yeah, I mean, on that third stream, I mean, when you look at the market, Canada is going to be the kickoff market for that technology. You know, I've got no doubt in my mind that's the case.
Well, I was on a webinar this morning hosted by CNL on SMRs and mining, and that's the perfect target for you guys.
Yeah.
Maybe we've already covered this, but I mean, the strength of Westinghouse as an organization, Westinghouse Canada. What do you think are some of those unique strengths and differentiators that are going to make you successful?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have covered a bit, but maybe I'll try and expand upon it. Obviously, it's our people. You know, any smart leader is going to say his strength is people, but it generally is true. I mean, not only do we have, I think we're at about 154 people looking to grow significantly. So maybe just a quick shout out. We have a lot of job openings. So if any OCNI members and people they know, you know, are passionate about trying to be able to relate their work to show benefit for their communities, for their customers and their industry, please take a look at the Westinghouse website, because we need talented people. So anyway, now I got that plug in.
You get a finder's fee?
Yeah. HR would have killed me if I didn't plug that in, because we do need a lot of good people. So
okay,
and it's a good spot to be in. But as we grow, you know, it's I think the strength of Westinghouse is our ability to also leverage the global talents of this iconic brand, right? So Westinghouse is a popular brand and it's iconic, but it really is the people that have made all the differences. Their ideas, their innovations, you know, their work ethics. And we have a network of 9,000 talented people across the world that Westinghouse Canada has access to, right? To be able to complement and supplement what we're doing in Canada, and vice versa. Take the talents and the lessons learned from the can-do industry in Canada and take it to the global market. So without a doubt, I mean, it really is, our assets are our people. I mean, without quality people who are passionate about the business, who want to come in and make a difference, you know, we wouldn't be the same company. So yeah, I sort of answered that before, but I really believe
we don't tire of hearing of that, Eddie. As you know, we had the eVinci supplier forum in September.
Mm-hmm.
The intent of that was to introduce eVinci to the Canadian supply, the OCNI Canadian supply chain, and start the dialogue. Has that been successful? Have you had a good amount of interest shown from Canadian suppliers as you build your pan-Canadian eVinci supply chain?
Yeah, it has been. I mean, so that session was what, September of last year. And we had an immediate spike of requests and questions come in, and a lot of that has turned into real partnerships and real collaboration to see what's necessary to make eVinci a reality in the marketplace here. So, you know, a big thank you to you and really everyone who reached out. But we are actively looking for partners and collaborators, because, you know, this will be a Canadian collaboration. It won't just be a Westinghouse driven solution. We need the expertise of the organization to support us.
While we're on that topic, who came up with the name eVinci? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, I'm glad I know the answer, because that would be quite awkward.
Because that wasn't, that was a surprise. I just thought of that now.
Yeah, so people who don't know, I try to say it had something to do with Eddie and eVinci, but it has nothing to do with me at all. It was named a long time ago. Actually, there was a young engineer who was sort of on a bit of a skunkworks project, who came up with the idea. Because I mean, you see a lot of the names for some of the other SMRs. You know, they're very technical and alphanumeric type
Yeah,
of
I'm not as creative
designations.
as you guys are.
It was the ingenuity of one of our young engineers on the I think they were on the Global Technology Office, who realized the impact that Da Vinci had made for science and innovation, and just loved the idea of taking that concept and E being energy, or or empowerment, enablement, and sort of putting the two together and to come up with Da Vinci. That name has done so much for us because it resonates. It sounds incredibly well, and the Canadian government loves it too. I mean, it's such a fun thing to say too. So it's nice when sort of things line up the way they do.
Wow, I didn't know. I didn't realize that it was so popular in Ottawa. Well, that's a good sign, Eddie.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I hope so.
Just ask them for a few $100 million.
Yeah, that's a little tougher. That's a little tougher.
So I want to switch now to learn a bit more about you,
Sure.
which even I don't know that much about you, as much as I am probably your #1 fan. Next one. So, who have been some of the mentors along the path that have guided you or helped you make some critical career choices?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a tough question because, I know I'm sort of in this position today because of the support of a slew of people. For whatever reason, I've been very lucky throughout my career to have a lot of mentors, take me under their wing, be patient with me, almost coach and guide me for nothing more than just my own benefit. So there's no doubt in my mind, if I didn't have the support of this network of mentors in the past several years, I wouldn't be here today. But I think it's important to sort of unpack that a bit because, what's unique about the people who had been, who are, or who will be mentors is, they've been very unbiased, right? Even to maybe sometimes not their detriment, but not be as beneficial to them. I've had mentors who have been my managers. Had mentors who have been my competition. I've had mentors who've been my friends. I've had mentors who've actually worked for me and they've taught me, right? And it's the unique skill set or the trait of all these folks is, they wholeheartedly just gave me advice or guidance or trusted me for my own benefit and to push me forward. So I mean, that's really stuck with me, and it's sort of been able to sort of maybe check my ego and check my attitude a bit too, to sort of realize what all of these folks have done for me. It's sort of it's my responsibility to be doing the same thing for not just my peers and my employees, but really for others within the industry. So I've been incredibly lucky. And I was telling you before we were chatting before this started, I had a ton of feedback from a lot of good people, just in terms of helping me getting ready for today's session. And John Barrett on this section there, he wrote his name in after every single one in terms of mentorship. So I have to do a true shout out to John Barrett.
Oh my God, this is love John Barrett event.
I do love John Barrett, to be quite honest.
John, you owe me if you're on the line.
but John's been, so John, I mean, obviously John, my role and our relationship spans probably like 7-8 years now. But I still remember the first day he took over as the president of the Canadian Nuclear Association, and I met him at a luncheon somewhere downtown Toronto, and just by coincidence we sat together at the table, and from that day on we just hit it off. And John's always been there sort of by whenever I'm stressed out or I need an opinion of something that I can go to him and sort of ring him up at any time, and he's incredibly patient with me. I know I drive him crazy, but he's a very patient person. So John, I hope I did you well on that answer.
Well, now you pay him, so he should have more patience.
Yeah, that's true. Right? He works for me.
On the topic of leadership and mentorship, I mean, are there some leaders outside the industry, political people that you admire and of whom you'd like to model yourself against?
You know what? It really is. It's the people around me. I mean, yet when you're, I guess, a little younger in your career, you start reading a lot of books about leadership and looking at some of the big names out there. But it really has been the mentors, all the ones I've listed. And I honestly have had probably 20, 30, 40, 50 different mentors over the last couple of years. And it's really just learning from each one of them. And there isn't one I've been trying to replicate. Instead, what I've learned is it's just easier to be myself. I tried I tried replicating leaders I thought were doing quite well. And it just, when it's not authentic and it's not yourself, it doesn't come through. So yeah, I know I've got a lot of gaps, and I try and surround myself with people who compliment me, compliment my gaps, not compliment me.
I compliment you all.
Yeah, I got you, Ron. I got you for that. But really, people who challenge me and tell me what I need to hear as opposed to what I want to hear. So I really like my management team, my staff, the openness, the candor, and we're getting closer together. So yeah, I think if there's folks I look out to, it's really the people on my team. I mean, they're the ones I rely on every day to take some of these crazy ideas and make them a reality.
And they're not afraid to say, Eddie, I think you screwed up today.
No, they're very used to saying that. So no, they're.
So how would you define, you've learned from mentors, you've grown through your career. What is the Eddie Saab leadership style? How would you define it if someone had to met someone in an elevator and say, tell me about yourself in 30 seconds?
Yeah,
it's
probably a constant work in progress, Ron. I mean, it's I'm continually learning, continually finding gaps, and being comfortable really with my shortcomings and not allowing that to sort of hold me back. But what I have been trying to do, and I think maybe to your other question about leadership traits, is I really try and focus a lot of my time on listening to the people within my organization, listening to people within industry and in our communities. Like, that's one skill set I've really practiced, and it takes a lot of effort. I mean, to be really focused and observant, and for the other person to be able to look into your eyes and know you're absorbing what they're saying and taking it into that. That's sort of what I've been trying to do. I ask a lot of questions. I think I drive my team crazy with a ton of questions. I'm willing to sort of put my neck on the line and sort of make decisions that I know I'll be accountable for. But really, I listen and ask the questions because ultimately I'm just looking for input, right? I don't have all the answers. So I really need the people around me who I trust to provide me a perspective that's, not just unique to the position I'm in. And so, yeah, but it's definitely a work in progress.
Well, Eddie, one of the things that we say in the nuclear industry is continuous improvement. It's really the hallmark of our industry. And this is not a question, but it's a comment. But I remember having a discussion about leadership with a colleague of mine who was a successful leader in real estate. And she said, one quality of a good leader is humility. And I'd never heard that before. But as I hear you speak, I see humility. Like, I don't have the answers. I don't know it all. I don't know it all. Help me, guys. Let's do something together as a team. That is the ultimate leader, with humility. And that people will respect and go a long way for.
Thanks, Ron.
You've just confirmed something for me. So you've mentioned a lot about creativity. How do you get your team to be creative and come into you with some crazy ideas maybe once in a while?
Yeah. I think what I'm trying to do, what Westinghouse is trying to do, is foster an environment that allows our people to be creative and innovative, right? So I love innovation, but I sort of have a love-hate relationship with the word, because I think sometimes innovation is just overused, and everyone keeps saying innovation, but when you sort of break it down, what I've been trying to do is, and what Westinghouse is trying to do is show that there are some behavioral skills that we need to do to foster an environment of innovation, right? And those are, actively listening and observing. Those are asking questions. Those are being willing to take chances to experiment and willing to fail and learn from those lessons. And also networking. Being able to network with people outside your own network to take an input, to understand your biases. I think if we can, not just Westinghouse, but just our industry, can practice those skills, it allows us to better inform and gives us the opportunity to start putting pieces together and really being able to associate all the different information to come up with innovation. I mean, the best example I have is really going back to Da Vinci. So, Da Vinci was it started with just an innovation submission by two engineers at Westinghouse. So they were watching some space exploratory program. I mean, probably had to do with NASA down in the U.S. And they thought about like what can Westinghouse do in terms of taking our knowledge and maybe powering a space shuttle or for colonization. And so they put in a submission into Westinghouse Innovation Program. It got picked up, it got approved, some investment was made into it. We found a technology. We were able to figure out how to scale that technology up to produce 4.5 megawatts of power. And because of their crazy idea in watching a space program, we now have this incredible potential product of Da Vinci that will change the world. So I think Westinghouse has done a great job of stimulating that type of innovation and that culture to drive those behaviors that make that happen.
So you think Da Vinci might eventually take us to Mars and beyond, eh?
I don't know if they'll power the space shuttle, but if for colonization, you're not going to ship diesel up there. So yeah, I think that's a possibility.
Well, the recent mission to Mars, I mean, obviously nuclear isn't going to get you out of the Earth's gravitational pull, but once you're beyond the gravitational pull and you don't need the same kind of thrust, there was a nuclear. It wasn't Da Vinci design; it was another design, but a nuclear propulsion system enabled that spacecraft to get to Mars in half the time although they would have taken. So it's happening.
I'm still waiting for Elon Musk to call me. So as soon as as soon as he does, we got something for him.
That's cool. Just before we open it up to the audience, one of the reasons we have these leadership series is to learn something about your company and to discuss leadership that's going to inspire young people. But one of the things we want to do is tell us something about Eddie Saab. I mean, we all know that you're a great guy, a great leader, an amazing athlete. Tell us something about Eddie Saab. And now we know you're a good father. Tell us something about yourself that we don't know.
I can get in trouble for this one. No, you know what? Maybe just from the last year and a half. So yeah, I was into physical fitness, just healthy body, healthy mind type of thing. But really, I've been focusing in on my mental health, right? Just in the last year and a half, and I'm really trying to drive that home with our organization, just to ensure that our people are also focusing on their mental health. And so what I've done in the last year and a half is really done a lot of research and try different things out. So I mean, I'm sure some people know about this, but Wim Hof. It's about a breathing exercise and then also cold therapy, right, to oxygenate your body. So I've been trying to practice that cold therapy with cold showers and all the benefits that come with that. So moving that forward, meditation, trying to fit in yoga whenever possible, really trying to focus in on, because we all have stressful jobs, and then the layer, adding the complexity of the COVID and maybe some of the remoteness, we feel a little disconnected, and technology can't fill all the voids we've got. So I've been really trying to focus in on my own mental health to keep me in a better spirit, and also to pick me up when I'm feeling a little more challenged and stressed, and it has really helped. So if you have a chance, I would Google Wim Hof breathing exercises. Actually, I don't have the book here. I'm also reading a book. It's called Breathe, and it's a book just dedicated about the benefits of breathing through your nose, and how mouth breathing is not really that good for us, and it helps with oxygenating your body and everything. So yeah, it's when you're stuck in the basement and you're working 24/7, you need to take a bit of a break and focus on your mental ability as well. So I've been trying to do that a bit, and I think my team gets bothered sometimes.
That's cool. Well, I took up yoga 5 years ago. And it's been maybe not a life changer, but it's something that I wish I had done 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And my instructors always say, breathe, breathe, breathe. And now I do yoga online. My yoga teacher is in Trinidad, and once a week we're on the screen with her, and she's in a nice warm place, and we're on our mats, and it's kind of cool. I just want to finish off one comment about innovation. One of the issues that OCNI has always struggled with is, do we invite offshore companies into our industry, or should we be here to protect Canadian suppliers? And I think we've really converged on the fact that the nuclear market has a global supply chain, and by bringing in offshore companies like Westinghouse and others, you benefit from their technology, from their innovations. They invest in Canada, and we become a stronger industry. So and we're also now even looking beyond nuclear. I mean, we've got a company called Deep Trekker, probably on the line, and Andrew Lawrence is on our board, a company that specialized in underwater robotics. They've moved into nuclear and brought some great innovations to us. So innovation is having an open mind, seeing what other people are doing, learning from others, and looking offshore. So any final comments? Well, Agatha, have we had any questions from the floor?
Hi, Ron. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I've been screening the questions, so a few have come in.
Okay.
There's been a lot of discussions about SMR, so I think a few questions have been generating around that. Eddie, what do you think can be improved in terms of promoting the public perception of SMRs in Canada?
I think we need to look beyond our industry and even the adjacent industries and the typical stakeholders, right? We need to sort of figure out a way to be engaging the general public, because there's a lot of misinformation on nuclear to begin with. But, you know, for SMRs to succeed, we really need the general public to believe and understand the value of it. And, you know, I don't want to, how much time do we have? But okay, we have some time.
Yep.
I mean, one example. So 2 years ago, I was in Manchester for work, and I on the weekend I went to the Museum of Science and Industry. It's just in Manchester, and just as fate would have it, they actually had a whole section at the very front entrance dedicated to nuclear education, and this was local universities. Students in their nuclear programs having various little workshops and tables and games, teaching 4, 5, 6-year-olds, you know, young teenagers about nuclear. And I took a couple of pictures, and I just thought to myself, how incredible would it have been, or would it be, if OCNI and we did something similar at maybe Ontario Science Center to really, you know, make nuclear accessible to kids, right? You know, because I think it starts there, and we have to sort of extend our communication to just talking to ourselves. And I know we all know that, and a lot of leaders in the industry have been branching out, but yeah, I just that memory really sticks in my mind, because it's just great to see young and nuclear engineering students, you know, working with even younger kids, and just the excitement and all that. So there's an idea.
Were they interactive exhibits?
Yeah, they're all types. Nuclear engineer. There were some materials exhibits. There was some power conversion exhibits. It was. I have a couple pictures. I'll share them with you, Ron. But yeah,
And criticality would be such a beautiful thing to show how
okay.
that works and how you stop it. And wow, I've made a note of that, Eddie. I remember having some discussions about that with some people in Ottawa at the National Museum of Science in Ottawa. The Ontario Science Centre is a perfect location for that. So that's one good takeaway already. Agatha, back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think on that note, we have some students today joining us, and I think a few of them were asking, you know, you mentioned that Westinghouse is hiring full-time, but are you looking at any co-op or student opportunities this year as well? Yeah,
for sure. So the other thing we've done is ramped up our co-ops. So we're looking to bring in co-ops. Actually, I think we already have a couple who just started with us in January, but I don't want to. Agatha, you might need your help there. I think we're looking at least 7 or 8 co-ops per term for every term there. So for those of you who are students right now, if you're looking for an internship or a co-op, I mean, we've got 7 offices across southwestern Ontario. We'd love for you to sort of work with us, learn a bit, and hopefully come back to us when you finish your schooling.
Given your background, do Waterloo guys and girls get an advantage?
Equal opportunity.
Okay, that's good. I wanted you to say that. Go ahead, Agatha.
Here's a question from the supply chain. So what types of partnerships is Westinghouse currently looking for?
What kind of partnerships are we currently looking for? I mean, the easy answer is if the two of the organizations can drive more value together than apart, I mean, it's something we're interested in, right? So I mean, if it depends on what your organization is. So if it's if there's a way for you to benefit from our technology, our robotics, our core capabilities with digital engineering, with manufacturing, with fire protection, with center site engineering, I mean, we are looking for partners, right? Because my concern, I guess one of the concerns we didn't really get on this topic is, you know, we've got this incredible opportunity happening over the next several years, overlapping refurbishments, you know, maturing and optimizing the operating plants, these adjacent nuclear spaces of microreactors, also picking into commercial operation. There's just so much opportunity. And I don't think any one company anymore can sort of go in and be the one and only to all these types of things. So I think going back to our conversation, Ron, about innovation and collaboration, and that's not just only internally to an organization. I think there's opportunities for the different OCNI companies to come together Westinghouse, and sort of look at what are the top problems that are facing our customers, our industry, and is there a way for us to work together to knock them off? In terms of actual needs right now, it's everything from our operating plant services side of our business, our environmental services business, our energy systems business. I mean, the challenge it's a good thing. The Westinghouse portfolio is so massive, you know, that we do play in a lot of these fields, but you know, we have to be very specific to look for the opportunities that solve the customer's problem and really drive value for the customer at the end of the day.
And that, if I can just add to that, we've talked about innovation. There's technical innovation, but I'm a big fan of one particular process innovation, which is called collaborative contracting, where companies will come together and make a deliverable with a customer, and it's a way of contracting such that problems are solved jointly, risks are shared, rewards are shared. There's been some great success in other parts of the world, as opposed to the old model of, you know, the owner and the contractor having a single line of contract. So I think when you mentioned partnerships and risk sharing and companies coming together, I think there's great opportunities for different ways of doing business together.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, the next one, maybe Eddie, you can clarify a bit on the company locations of Westinghouse in Canada. The question is Westinghouse planning to set up a permanent Canadian location beyond Brookfield Place and those of its acquisitions?
Yeah, I mean, so just to be clear, we have permanent offices that came with some of the acquisitions, but also some of that we've grown. And the Brookfield office is really just a small hub office that's where I started from on day one. Since then, we've now got 6 additional offices. So we've got the manufacturing facility in Peterborough. We've got offices in southwestern Ontario. So we've got London, Stratford, Woodstock. We've got a much larger office now in Port Elgin, near Bruce Power, to support our efforts up there. And we opened up a little hub in Canada as well, to support, you know, to be closer to our friends in the federal government, but also to support the Nordian and the marketplace there. But also going back to our use of technology today, you know, as you start looking for opportunities with Westinghouse Canada, I mean, just don't look at the location. You know, a large part of our workforce is remote, and we have been able to show value and be able to continue to collaborate because of the technology. So, you know, if there's, you know, if your home is not one of those 7 places I mentioned, and you still want to work for Westinghouse, please apply, because it really doesn't matter as much anymore.
Great.
Okay, I think we have time for one more, so I'll
one
throw you an easy one. What have you found most challenging about being a leader from home?
Yeah, well, I think I just like being with my team and my employees, and like getting out there. So it was almost a full 180 from just spending 80% of my time on the road, right, out at our offices in Cranberry with our customers, and now just being sort of stuck in my basement. So I think the biggest challenge was communicating, right? Because even when we communicate over or Teams or whatever we do, it's just not the same when I'm there with our team and our peers to talk in person, to collaborate, to read each other's body language, to joke around, to be able to have off the cuff conversations. So, for me, it's probably been the communication part. I know my team thinks I talk too much, but I feel like I have to over communicate now because, I'm not always present. So that's been the biggest challenge for me. I thrive off of the energy of our people and our teams. And I have to keep that energy going somehow when I'm in my lovely basement.
Well, you said earlier that you ask a lot of questions, which means you must be a good listener too, Eddie.
Yeah, I try to listen.
Yeah. Well, Eddie, this has been a real pleasure. I regret that I couldn't get a haircut and look better for you, but at least I did put on a jacket, so to show you how much I valued this discussion. I hope our audience got as much out of this as I did. It's been a real pleasure, and I want to thank Nav and Joe for being the technical leads on this. And maybe Nav, you could remind everybody who's our next leader, who's got a difficult role to play because he's got to come on the heels of Eddie, who's done such a wonderful job today.
Thank you, Ron. We actually have two events that I just wanted to bring up for everybody. The first one is actually this Monday, which is International Women's Day. We are launching Balance Means Business with our friend Catherine Mashanis-Cole, the new president of X Energy Canada. And following in Eddie's footsteps, the next event in the Leader Series will be Bill Fox from SNC Lavalin. All the information about both those events can be found on our website at ocni.ca.
Oh yeah,
So
they'll both do wonderful. Yeah.
Eddie, you're in great company. Great company.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Nav. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy this nice sunny afternoon. Oh,
can I have one final word?
Of course.
So I think my mom's watching, and it's her birthday today, so I just want to say happy birthday, Mom, and I'll see you
Happy
tonight.
birthday, Mom. Happy birthday. You want to?
No, don't sing.
Okay.
But Ron, thanks so much.
We'll
Thanks so much
celebrate.
for setting this up.
We'll celebrate Owen's birthday at the Avinci site. Okay.
All right.
I'll be
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye, everybody.